All right, is everybody here? Does the audio sound okay? Can we start the show? Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 468, being recorded on September 20th, 2017. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Sebastian Peak.
And I'm Allyn Malmontano.
We kind of went in a different order. Are you okay with that?
I don't care.
We wanted to end here because it made sense to end here
That's
and
fine.
then continue the conversation, right? Like,
Yeah.
Circle.
Are your feelings hurt? I really want to know.
No.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sebastian just has more seniority than Allyn now.
He has more IKEA furniture than Allyn.
It's true. Well, yeah.
He might not. I have an awful lot of those shelves.
You do. In that one room, you have probably more shelves than we have in this entire office. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is PC Perspective. We talk about computer hardware, other stuff. If you joined the show beforehand, we talk about... What were we just talking about? We were
Mario selling drugs?
Mario selling drugs and whether or not he took mushrooms or sold mushrooms.
He's selling them on your shirt.
He is selling them on my shirt. In my daughter's reaction to said shirt. So these are the things you miss when you aren't paying attention to the live stream, which you can see at PCPer.com/live on Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And if you need a reminder, you need a gentle like, hey, I forgot there's something I need to do on Wednesday nights. It's always super important, but I'm always forgetting. What is it? You go to PCPer.com/subscribe right now and add your name and email address to this list. And it's an email list that we basically, an hour or 2 hours beforehand, I send you an email and say, hey, by the way, we're going to do a live stream. And it's usually just once a week. So you're talking about one email a week you're going to get from us. But sometimes if we're doing another event like NVIDIA or AMD or somebody else is in town, we will tell you about the live stream through that as well. And most of the time, those involve prizes and giveaways and stuff too. So there's another reason to be signed up for that list. So make sure you're doing that.
Guys in the chat are asking, is there a PC per store? They need some merch. We don't have one.
We need people to design merch is the issue.
Yeah, that was the issue. And I put that out on one of our Q&A's like videos that I did. It was like, if you can design something, I will gladly put it on a store and allow people to buy it. But
we got some designs from old QuakeCon
look at the
shirts and
people
stuff.
in here. They don't know how to do any of that.
We don't know how to
crap.
design. We don't know.
There's like 100 people in this office, and none of them can design anything.
We know how to test stuff. We have zero artistic sense, though. So.
Yeah, actually, the Jim in the back has done the best in designing our thumbnails and that type of stuff.
Yeah,
I don't think
I could drink a lot of chocolate and pink milk and then vomit it on a shirt.
Two-color
like
t-shirts
tie-dye.
are expensive, though.
It's kind of like Jackson Pollock.
That's true. We want to go for monochrome. It's cheaper to print. So keep that
Of course, Jedi Master wants to buy some Malventano t-shirts. I don't even know what would be on a Malventano. Maltavino?
Just do an outline of your head, like Scott Van Pelt's logo. Just
there you go.
The Malventano logo.
Do the listeners even know what the Maltavino thing is?
No. It
Oh,
was
they
from
don't?
one random comment on the website.
It was somebody commented on the website. I like that guy. Brian Maltavino. I was like,
Brian Maltavino.
I've had my name
you
butchered
assume he
before.
said it with like an Italian.
It's basically
I hope so.
Brian Maltavino. You got to throw it in there. I don't know.
We also have our Patreon campaign going as well. If you'd like to donate directly to Brian Maltavino, that's at patreon.com/PCPer. This is your ability to become a monthly recurring contributor to the site. This enables us to do things like the mailbags, create other new content ideas, and make sure we can continue to make podcasts and articles and whatnot. So important there. It's a great thing. We really love it, and we love all the support we get from people there. If you become a new patron or upgrade your patronage by at least $1 during the live stream here, I will call out your name and thank you personally on the stream. We already have 2 of those. We have a new pledge of $1 from Hashin256. Passion 256. Thank you very much. And Harry Cracks. That's spelled Krax. Just so we're all very clear here. Is a new pledge of $3.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Thank you, Harry K, if you will. And so also one of those things I don't have the thing for it. We've done mailbags with these. You linked to the edit instead of the view page in the show notes, so that's why it was. That's why it's
sorry.
That's okay. But we did a mailbag. I sit in front of a camera and answer user submitted questions for about 20 minutes. Those are at youtube.com/PCPer, and then we also do. We did a weekly Let's Play / what do we call it? PCPer Plays event where Ken and I played the original Crysis from 2007. Is
Still
when it
looks
came out.
good, as
And
it turns out.
Yeah, and if you read the comments on that video, everyone's like, "Wow,
Foliage.
that still looks great." Yeah, they're very impressed by the foliage.
Everybody was like, "Wow, there's an awful lot of foliage."
I mean,
Destructibility?
I swam out to an island in the middle of the water and mowed down all the trees with my machine gun.
Yeah.
Right?
Accidentally exploded the house you were in?
Accidentally exploded the house I was in. Yeah, like the game technology is still really impressive. And the facial animation looks good, and it still looks surprisingly good for a 10-year-old game. I bet if you go back to some of the other, Josh, what were some other like flagship game titles around that time, you think?
Far Cry, Doom 3.
Oh, God, Doom 3 didn't age that well.
Yeah, Doom 3 didn't age nearly as well. Yeah, and Far Cry would have been out, what, 2 or 3 years before this?
2004 was Far Cry, Doom.
No.
2 were
2004, yeah.
2005.
Okay. So yeah, 3 years before Crysis was Far Cry, which even Far Cry looked really good, but Crysis was a significant step up even for that. So check out those videos. It's at youtube.com/PCPer. What do the YouTube guys say? Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah,
Is that what they do? Yeah, do all those 3 things if you can. We'd appreciate it. Let's get into the content. The first thing we're going to talk about this week comes from Ken.
What? Huh?
That's the only reason he's here. The MSI GS63 VR, which
What, like
is
the only reason I'm here for this podcast, or I'm here in general?
this is the MSI GS63 VR.
You were here in general, even when you weren't working
gaming
here.
laptop. This is our second look at a Max-Q design machine. What the hell does that mean, Ken?
It means that through magical voodoo that NVIDIA won't disclose, essentially, by working with notebook partners, MSI was able to put a GTX 1070 into this form factor in which they previously only offered up to a GTX 1060.
Okay.
Which is very neat.
Yep.
So this is a existing MSI design. It's the MSI GS63 VR, which even the same code name is available
it's
with
just
the other
with
GPUs.
a different GPU.
Yeah. Which is an awesome design. We've taken a look at the evolution of these. The Stealth Pro is their moniker laptops in the MSI line. They're always super thin and light gaming notebooks that have good options such as GTX 1060, which is still a good gaming GPU for this
especially for a 1080p screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's Max-Q enabled. So we took a look at the Asus ROG Zephyrus a couple months ago, which was a built from the top Max-Q design that has the weird keyboard and trackpad placement.
Right.
And sort of going full hog into these GPU optimizations for the Max-Q program. But we decided to take a look at this MSI laptop, which is just kind of a normal gaming laptop, and see how it performs.
Yeah, the Zephyrus was the first time Asus had made anything that looked like this. We have seen laptops that look like this several times from MSI, and they're even at the time when we did these initial looks, they were thin, light. We were impressed by what they offered.
Yeah,
in
it's
that
always
form factor.
always the thinnest and lightest gaming notebook form factor you could find. And compared to the Zephyrus, I think it's a bit thicker, but it is barely noticeable, we'll say.
Yeah, I mean, NVIDIA puts like a restriction on how thick it can be to get the Max-Q moniker,
I'm not
doesn't
sure
it?
the exact
Maybe not. I don't know.
program specifications there.
So we looked, obviously, having seen the form factor several times, and also since we had seen one other Max-Q design machine from Asus, we just kind of we wanted to look at gaming performance specifically, right? Dirt Rally, 1080p, we tested. And generally what we found was, so the kind of like we saw with the 1080 Max-Q, the 1070 Max-Q does not meet the performance levels of a standard GTX 1070. We had an older laptop, an Asus G752 VS with a full performance GTX 1070, and that machine is not a Max-Q design. It's a much thicker, larger, heavier laptop. More of what you think of when you hear the term gaming laptop. And you can see here, actually, yeah, this one right here, this graph. Like the black line is the MSI Max-Q 1070, and then the green line is the GTX 1070 full perf, right?
Yeah.
And as it turns out, like the 1080 Max-Q is pretty close to the GTX 1070 perf, pretty much across the board,
Which
I guess.
is kind of the conclusion we started coming to at the end of our ROG Zephyrus review, but we got a hold of a 1070 laptop to put in this review that we were expecting to be right in the middle, and for the most part it was. I will say that the Max-Q design is further away from the 1070 than it is the Max-Q 1080.
Say it again. The
There's
full
a bigger gap
1070
between the Max-Q 1070 and the 1070 than the Max-Q 1080 and the 1070.
Excuse me.
Boy, that's really confusing.
Yeah, it is. Yes, but I mean, even if you look at like GTA 5, this is like frame variant, so it's not quite the same. But like the orange and green lines are the 1080 Max-Q and the full 1070, right? And then the black line is the 1070 Max-Q. And if you look up here, like the green and orange lines are tracking very closely. The black line is, it's not a dramatic step below, but it's definitely.
I mean,
notable.
GTA is a very CPU-bound game, so that was one of the games that showed a much smaller gap.
Yep.
Yeah. And here, okay, so this in Tomb Raider is an example that shows the perf advantage of the 1080 Max-Q over the 1070. Because I think some people, even me, myself included, were like, oh, you know, a 1080 Max-Q might as well be just called a 1070 that they put into a lower power state or whatever, right, to get down to that perf level. But, I mean, you can see there is, the 1080 Max-Q is still offering more than a 1070 here in this instance. But the 1070 Max-Q is lower than both of them, which is what we would expect. And my guess is it's somewhere, you know, a handful, 5-10% faster than a 1060 full would be. Just a guess off the top of my head there. You agree with that?
Yeah. And we saw some more some more 404s on the network.
404.
It just reloaded itself.
We saw some more frame variants in the 1080 Max-Q in some games. So, as you might expect, a higher performing laptop in a similar form factor is more thermally throttled and can cause frame variance. It still wasn't anything that I would call anywhere near unplayable. It was still a pretty smooth experience, especially since the Zephyrus has a G-Sync display.
Right.
So, just something to keep in mind is that these Max-Q designs can have more variance than the fuller, more thermally managed GPUs.
Anything stand out in the other CPU storage test? It looks like, you know, the Zephyrus was interesting because it had a full perf quad core part. This one did too, it looks like.
Yeah, they share the same CPU, so the pure CPU benchmarks are pretty similar. However, if you go down to like PC Mark,
well, the Handbrake one's interesting.
Oh yeah,
in that because the MSI GS63 VR integrates
Optimus.
I don't know. Did they really still call it that? Whatever it is, they have both the Intel and the NVIDIA GPU enabled in the system, right? That allows you to use QuickSync video, like for transcoding, which is the fastest of all the results. Whereas the ROG Zephyrus, they don't enable the integrated graphics on the processor.
That might change from SKU to SKU because I believe they do offer the GS63 VR with the G-Sync display, which is why they can't use Optimus on the Zephyrus because they all have G-Sync displays.
Got it.
But most of the SKUs don't have G-Sync. I think only some very high-end options that you can't necessarily find a whole lot
of this, of the GS63 VR. Got it.
So I would mostly expect to be able to use QuickSync.
Okay. Storage performance looks pretty good. You know, 545 by 515.
Yeah, so I mean, pretty run-of-the-mill SATA performance. It is a bit disappointing. We'll get to this with the next page with the price point that we didn't see an NVMe device in this notebook. Like the ROG Zephyrus had a 960 Evo in it, essentially the OEM equivalent of 960 Evo. So you're getting a lot more storage performance for the given segment.
Yeah. What about the pricing? You were going to bring up something.
It's very expensive. So
all right, moving on.
Leave it there.
So if you scroll up a little bit, I don't remember the exact number. So
$2,300, $2,400.
It's $2,400 for the notebook and the configuration we reviewed with the Max-Q 1070, a 120 hertz 1080p panel, not G-Sync, and a SATA SSD and a hard drive. That's very steep.
Yeah.
You can get the ROG Zephyrus now has a GTX 1070 Max-Q enabled option that is $2,300. So you're getting the G-Sync display, you're getting the NVMe SSD. You unfortunately gain the weird keyboard trackpad form factor, but you're also saving $100 at that point.
Right.
And then if you just want to go to laptops that have a GTX 1070 in it, you can find those for like around $1,700 on the lower end, and the Asus ROG Strix GL502, which we actually have had in for some stuff lately, is a pretty thin and light gaming notebook. It's not super bulky or anything, and you can get it for $1,700 with the full 1070 in it, which will give you better performance by like somewhere around 5 to 10%.
Right.
So I find it difficult to recommend this exact configuration to anyone. I think the MSI GS63 VR is a great notebook in general. If you want to buy one with a 1050 or 1060 in it, those are more viable options. But this 1070 Max-Q option seems to be outpriced the market, essentially, for not highest end gaming GPU performance.
So that is the review of the MSI GS63 VR. Worth pointing out, this unit, this is the one that was sent to us by CUK.
Yeah.
Computer Upgrade King, so we thank them for that. I think it's cukusa.com is their website, right? They do a lot of interesting, cool stuff with customization. Like they sell MSI and Asus laptops, but they will customize them before you get them. So if you want a bigger SSD or RAID configuration that they don't offer individually, or you want 64 gigs of RAM in it, like they will do that for you, and it's all within reasonable prices of what you would expect from the from the MSI or Asus machines directly. So thank you for that, guys. Oh, hold on. Before we move on to the next review, Errato 949. Errato 949 became a new patron for $5 a month. Thank you very much for that, Errato 949. Keep them coming in, guys. I will pay attention this week, I promise. Maury posted a review of the Gigabyte Z270X Gaming 8 motherboard. It has the Aurorus. I always want to add an extra syllable to that and call it Aurorus, but that's not correct.
That's the British pronunciation.
I see. Yes, and I think it might have. Did you know Sleeping Beauty's name is Aurora?
Nope.
Oh God.
Had no idea. My daughter taught me this, and I think that's part of what that was.
When she told you that, did you go, "No, it isn't"?
You don't even know what you're talking about, you dumb kid. But anyway,
look at those RAM slots, man.
That's actually, so the lights between the LED, the memory slots, I think that's pretty cool.
Are they in between, or are they?
Well, there's only 3 of them, so there's in between.
Okay, yeah, fair.
But I mean, even like you got this, I don't know what the hell that is.
Yeah, what is that?
Light section. It's probably just like a clear acrylic.
It's just a piece of plexiglass.
Yeah.
And 2 LEDs at the side with the
that cool.
the stuff to make it glow.
It's like a piece of flare.
The dream of the 90s is alive with the
That's true.
Gigabyte Z270X Gaming 8
that is very Miami Vice down there.
There's a lot going on here. They've got looks like this is has like the water cooling option over the VRMs as well. There's a lot going on here.
I was just thinking that those lights would really help if you were working inside of that case, and but then you don't do upgrades with the system turned on, so never mind.
No. Well, actually, a lot of these
need to have a
motherboards
switch for like turning on the LEDs.
A lot of these motherboards will all the LEDs will stay on when the system is off, but the power supply is still supplying like standby power.
I haven't seen that happening really.
The one in the Plex server.
But even if that's the case, you probably still shouldn't be upgrading it without the power supply.
Yeah.
In case you accidentally like hit those switches to turn on.
Yeah.
Because there are just buttons on all these motherboards these days to turn on the systems, so I'd keep that in mind. As mentioned, it does have the Bits Power G-Chill hybrid water block. Across all of the power delivery cooling. Hopefully, we start to see some of this in those X299 motherboards where it maybe is more useful as well. Multi-zone light show design.
Light show.
RGB fusion. 6 light zones, 8 programmable sections, 8 different lighting effects, 2 RGBW light strip pin headers, accent LED with interchangeable overlay. There's a lot. There's a lot there. SmartFan 5 support. You can see some of the external output capability. This is a full-featured motherboard for sure.
Does it have a 1/4 inch headphone jack?
It has multiple.
I mean, it has multiple of them.
A quarter. No,
quarter.
inch.
Quarter. Okay. I don't think so.
No.
Not interested.
Not interested.
But it has USB 3.1 and PS2.
I don't care, Alex.
PS2 port, man.
The scale of input connectivity from PS2 port to USB 3.1 is that Thunderbolt? Probably not. It would be a different color if it were Thunderbolt, wouldn't it?
It's still a very large range of
It
years.
wouldn't make it. Hold on. Let's see. Storage interface.
Chipset Thunderbolt 3 controller. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it goes from PS2 to Thunderbolt 3.
What's the
which is really only one generation leap. PS2, the Thunderbolt
goes like
3.
Yeah, it goes like 10
I'm pretty
years.
sure you can drive video through a PS2 port, right?
One more than two.
It's like 10 years before Ken was born.
PS2 has existed.
No.
What was before PS2? It was the 4-pin. What was that called?
AT.
Just
AT.
4-pin
AT,
DIMM?
yeah.
It's just AT.
Yeah.
I remember,
Now I'm
side
curious.
side note, when I got my first custom computer built for me, before I built my own, I had a place called Custom Computers Build One, and I took it home. I was so excited. My dad went and picked me up, and we went and picked up the computer, and I brought it home, and it had a PS2 connector on it. Mm-hmm. Or it had a 4-pin DIN, and my keyboard was PS2, or vice versa. I was like, oh no! And I had to like have him take me back out to. I think I went to the Florence Mall to go to the Radio Shack to buy a 4-pin DIN to PS2 adapter.
That's the perfect place to buy one.
The 4-pin connector was like the thing that looked like a MIDI plug, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a big circle
with the pins in a different place or something.
The AT connector.
Yeah.
Anyway, that has nothing to do with the Gigabyte Z270X Gaming 8, but what are you gonna do?
It has an AT connector.
Oh, I was fascinated
obviously.
by it. Fascinating.
Thank
Trip
you.
down memory lane.
It's good. Hey, I'm here to
do it
have
again.
stories for you, and my network cable keeps unplugging from this machine. Here's the board. It looks way less interesting without all the lights on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm not trying to
put 'em all-
discount Maury's photography work here. I'm just saying.
That's why they put them all there. They were just like,
know,
man, look at how bland this board looks. We gotta
a lot of
jazz this
PCIe
up.
slots. They're giving you 4 full length ones, even though
The fourth one is
the usefulness of that is, like if you want to use this bottom one, you have to have a case that supports that, right? Not a lot of cases support, going a slot below the end of the ATX motherboard.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is maybe hey, if you also want to use this for mining nod or something like that. I don't really know. Usually you don't see 4 by 16 on Z270 boards. And I don't think this is using any PLX chips.
That would give you
specs,
would give you an extra space between the 3 GPUs if you put 3 of them and the third one was in the furthest slot.
Yeah.
It would that would give you 3
that's
GPUs
true.
not all
That's
jammed
true.
up
Plus,
against
you
each
could
other.
plug
Right?
3x1 ribbon cables in there.
Yeah.
Sebastian, it does have amp up audio. Is that good enough?
No.
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 Sound Blaster ZXRI.
All right.
That's software.
That sounds like a disease.
ZXRI. It's going to be in the next blockbuster film. That's what actually causes zombie breakouts. Actually, ZXRI. I read that.
I guess it sounds more like a
somewhere.
drug, like a pharmaceutical.
So it's got a lot of caps for the audio. So there's that, right? There's
It could have a good DAC in it. I don't know.
It has a.
Ever since I saw that board with a 1/4-inch jack, it's just I can't go back.
I know.
It's got a Burr
No, it's
Brown
probably got the
op amp.
stinking crab codec
Crab
underneath all that.
Oh,
The crab.
Oh,
maybe
Realtek.
it has an ESS. You don't know.
Maury
we
took
do
this
know.
picture with the lights illuminated.
On a motherboard. Sure.
And a light strip.
The back panel does illuminate as well. The back panel
that's what he's
plate
trying to show.
illuminates as well. Yeah, he doesn't just normally lay the back
He
panel.
was trying to show all the things that light up all at the same
That's
picture.
how I build my system.
Here's an LED light strip kind of just running across. Yeah.
The
I'm amazed
postcode
you-
doesn't look like it's booted.
I'm amazed he can even take that picture.
Why?
What do you mean?
Just because it's so bright, you'd figure the motherboard would be so
That's
dark
true.
or something.
Stop it down.
And the best part about the way he laid, if you scroll back up,
What is
the back panel,
Yeah.
it is actually shorting out parts of the motherboard.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's awesome. That's why the postcode is.
No, don't say that about Maury.
Maury's never done anything like that before.
Dual U.2.
And
What the
dual
heck?
SATA Express.
Well,
Why would you need dual U.2?
I,
those-
Or one for that
For
matter.
those
don't
2
know.
SSD 750 U.2s that
Yeah.
anyone ever bought.
yeah, I mean, you could
I
do
don't have an
that.
answer for that.
Yeah, I
to be
don't
honest
know.
with you, I don't know. The water block does look nice. I'll give him that. Like even if you don't use the water block part of it, like I still think it looks slick.
Does it?
Well, I mean, like if you just use it passively.
Is it just acting as a spreader otherwise?
Yeah.
Or is it?
Yeah,
or
I
is
mean,
there
it's-
actually a heat sink somewhere? Because I don't see
Yeah,
fins.
it's a heat sink under there. It just doesn't have any airflow.
Oh, so it's just a heat spreader then.
Well, I mean, if you have a regular heatsink fan, there will be some airflow. If you have a water cooler like Maury, then there'd be none. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot going on here. It's a pretty high end board. He
that's-
tears apart the bits that 8-pin connector.
8-pin that you can't.
What is going on with this today?
I don't know.
Tears it apart. You can actually, there it is, removing the whole thing. There you see it.
Yeah.
Maury likes to take things apart. What can I say?
Of course he does.
It's all right. And most of the time it goes back together.
Without being cracked or
most
broken.
Most of the time. So he goes through his overclocking testing, normal performance testing, UEFI, all that type of stuff for you to go take a look at. I said stuff. Shut your mouth. This is an expensive motherboard, as you would expect, with all that capability. 470. And it's got the water cooling on the VRM. It's got to be their flagship offering here. That's still a lot of money. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of strengths, weaknesses. Oh man. CMOS
battery replacement. Top weakness.
You know, if they just hadn't been greedy with those full-length PCI Express slots, they could have put the CMOS battery in a better position.
You're right.
Can we run a search on the website for CMOS battery replacement and see how many unique hits we get?
That should be a tag.
CMOS battery replacement. If we don't come up as the #1 Google search result for CMOS battery replacement, I will be upset.
Well, if you read the the site, let me see my site description here. PC Perspective, your #1 source of CMOS battery placement news and information on the web.
Hold on, now I'm just gonna. Why is my trackpad not working?
Why are you breaking everything?
I don't know.
You broke it. You broke the laptop.
Hold on. CMOS battery placement. Oh, the HP support site. Look at this.
Oh, we're not even on the first page.
None of these are us. This what?
Well, it's set. Wait, go up. Is it searching placement or replacement?
No, just placement. All right. Well,
put it in quotes.
We've learned now. Well, no, I'm not going to. Let's move on. Check out the review. It is up there if you want to take a look. Let's get into our news items, starting with Toshiba. Are they bought this week? Are they still in negotiations this week?
I mean,
nobody friggin' knows.
I thought that officially went through.
No, kind of. I mean,
I think Toshiba would like it to go through.
There was a recent thing where they said that, sort of confirming. Now, I realize this is a post Tim put up last week, right after the podcast.
Oh, sure.
Right. And now, as of earlier today, it's kind of surfacing on Reuters had a story is saying, hey, Bain Capital and a group of some other people like Apple and a few other people. Are you okay with the touchpad over there?
No, I'm not.
All right.
Keep going.
A few other people kind of threw in some funds to try to pool their money together in order to buy Toshiba's flash memory production.
Toshiba said it agreed to sell today.
Yeah, they said they agreed to sell. But here's the thing. So Western Digital / SanDisk, and I say /SanDisk, which is important because SanDisk originally, before acquired by Western Digital, had an agreement to jointly produce flash memory with Toshiba, which meant that it was a joint venture. They were both investing together in the development
production
of
facilities,
flash and
all
production facilities, all this stuff, right? And with an agreement like that comes some responsibility on both parties, right? Well, even though Western Digital acquired SanDisk, that shouldn't just nullify the entire agreement. It just means that Western Digital now is in a joint venture with Toshiba. Well, they might not like it, but
sure.
That's just kind of how it works, right? Well, at the same time, Toshiba had Westinghouse go under on them and go bankrupt or negative or whatever you want to call it. So they're just trying to get money from something to the point where they're like, well, we're going to sell off our flash production. Mm-hmm. Well, Western Digital well, hey, hold your horses. You're in a joint venture with us. You can't just go doing stuff with our joint venture without at least consulting with us.
I'm no legal expert, but I'm going to say to Toshiba, or I'm going to say to SanDisk, hey, if you can get bought by somebody without my approval, then I can sell myself without your approval.
I guess. I don't know.
Put it in the books.
But, yeah. So
whatever judge has to do with this,
I'm sure that's probably part of Toshiba's argument or something, because they're going back and forth. So there's 3 separate.
It seems to me that Toshiba always declares that it's done.
Yeah.
And then somebody says, nah, not really. We still legally have the chance to bid.
Pulled back in again.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
Toshiba's it's my last day before retirement, and then they get pulled back in.
Basically, Toshiba kept doing other stuff on their own after Western Digital acquired SanDisk without consulting the joint venture side of it. So then now they've racked up 3 separate lawsuits from Western Digital so far.
Cool.
Nothing to do with the selling thing, just from doing other stuff with the fab.
Oh.
Right? We just want to invest in some more stuff, but we don't care what the other half does, right? And that sort of stuff. And apparently there's some court in California that has
California
ruled,
court has reportedly ordered Toshiba to give Western Digital 2 weeks notice of any deal with the consortium, and its 2 previous arbitration requests through ICC are still pending resolution.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, even though there was a Reuters story earlier today saying it looked like that deal actually happened with Bain Capital, it's, you know, I was going to post something about it, but there's so much just back and forth and conjecture and stuff flying around that I don't think anybody can really say that's what the deal is for sure.
My bid didn't go through. So
your bid?
Yeah.
10 cents a gig?
I was going to bid 10 cents a gig for whatever they had left in stock.
Whatever's left in stock. Yeah. Like how much flash is on that wafer over there? I'll pay you 10 cents a gig.
No, because then I couldn't sell it for 10 cents a gig. I'd have to buy it for like 2 cents a gig in order to get through all the process.
Yeah.
Because I'd have to bring it here and then hand cut the wafer and glue them.
You'd walk in
to the
You'd walk
SSDs.
in and throw it on my desk. Allyn, here.
No, I'd cut it and with an X-Acto or whatever you do.
X-Acto knife.
Right? Yeah, and then I would open up like
angle grinder. Use an angle grinder.
I would go open up one of these SATA SSDs, like a Samsung SSD or something like that, and I would open it up.
Just lay the wafers in there.
And I would glue them on top. I mean, come on, you got to have them in place. So you
got to stack them higher.
To the top. Yeah, on
stack
top of each other.
Higher,
but then you glue them just to the top of the package of the other one. And I figure like electricity flows through that.
A PCB for it? I mean,
yeah, I could probably do that. Yeah.
Ken could do that.
Anyway, I think this is really happening, guys.
I'm doing it right now.
Before we get to our app permissions, was that in there? 2 new patrons. Ken's the Man just pledged $1. Nice try, Ken.
Was that Tony?
I don't know. It just says Ken's the Man. Ken's the Man pledged $1. And Thomas Taylor edited their pledge from $1 to $3.50. So thank you very much, Ken's the Man and Thomas Taylor. What's that?
Are you sure it's not a Loch Ness Monster?
Might be.
About 350.
350.
About 350.
All right. Other news items. Proper, I don't know what this is. Somebody's explaining to me. Jeremy's not here. Proper per app permissions arriving in Windows 10. Anybody know what the hell this is? What are we talking about? Installed applications would now need your agreement to collect and transmit metadata, such as your location, other information.
Think like iOS versus Android. You know, when you install an Android app and it needs to use this, and like location, it needs to use your local storage. You have to agree to all of those things.
Yeah.
On a per app basis. Apparently, that's going to be the default behavior of Windows 10 in the coming up with the Creators Update. So
I bet the majority of people who are using this, like I would never, I don't think of any applications I download from Windows as needing my location, right? And in fact, if anything, I get super annoyed when I go to a website and there's a pop-up. It's like, hey, we'd like to know your location. I'm like, how about not right now? How about no?
So now, if you installed Chrome on a new install of this version of Windows and you went to that website, first Chrome would ask you. And then if you said yes, then Windows would go, hey,
did you know Chrome was making this request for you?
Chrome wants to.
Which I guess is like the safest way to go.
But Chrome that would only happen once. Windows would only ask you once for Chrome.
Sure.
So would you like Chrome to have the ability to know where you're at? Yeah, I can see that.
It's permission requests all the way down. Basically.
Apparently the enterprise version will offer greater control and limit the OS to local notifications of serious issues or updates.
All right.
So that was part of the fall creators update, I guess is what they're calling it, that will be coming out. So
I like this.
Do you?
But I still won't run Windows 10.
I just don't travel. Like, I don't know. I don't have my laptop out as often as I have my smartphone out. So like, do you want to know if I'm at my office or at my house? Because that's pretty much it. Like, I guess that's fine.
Yeah.
Right, you know. This is kind of interesting. There's been some Raven Ridge news creeping out, which is the AMD APU that combines Ryzen cores, 4 Ryzen cores, and is it a Polaris? No, Vega-based GPU
Vega.
core.
Is it like a stripped down Vega?
Oh, I mean, clearly it's going to be in a TDP. I don't know the answer to that.
Oh.
So AMD actually announced Ryzen Mobile, indicating that the APUs previously known as Raven Ridge would be launching the second half of this year. And apparently a Geekbench performance result for a Ryzen 5 2500U APU leaked out. Single core score of 3561, multi-core 9421. Comparison-wise, what's kind of important to note is they are using 50% less power versus the previous generation Bristol Ridge processors, while handily beating them in the performance offered. So 50% more CPU perf, 40% more GPU perf compared to 7th generation APUs based on these leaked benchmark scores. Obviously, Geekbench is not all-encompassing. You're not going to get the total of what this means for your Windows operating system, your gaming performance, et cetera, et cetera. Josh, what do you make of some of these early performance results and the opportunity that AMD might have with something like Raven Ridge?
I think it's going to be pretty decent. And not only that, but one of the more interesting things about it is going to be Infinity Fabric. One of the reasons that Vega was such a larger design was that they included Infinity Fabric with that. So we don't have to deal with the, Onion Plus bus that they had to do in between the old memory controller and CPU and the GPU portion. So it's all combined with Infinity Fabric in between Zen and Vega. They haven't told us that yet, except of course they designed Vega with Infinity Fabric, and why would you use any of these older bus protocols that they used in the past with Llano, Trinity, all of the other old APUs, Excavator based stuff, Carrizo, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting. What's that?
Chorizo.
Chorizo. Truth. But no, it's they've got Zen in an APU, and you're going to have better power efficiency. You're going to have better IPC. You're going to have better scaling with hyper-threading. Well, AMD's version of hyper-threading. So it's kind of a win-win for AMD. We're just going to see how well they are able to integrate it all into one SoC. And so far, so good.
Have we seen any confirmation on the memory systems that these are using?
Nope.
Right? Like, you know, there's rumors of them using HBM. Are they just going to use standard, like, dual-channel memory controller?
No, for now, it's going to be dual-channel. I mean, they had talked about some HPC applications which would utilize, you know, some kind of Zen Core APU, except the graphics portion is going to be significantly higher.
Yeah,
and it'll have HBM. But that's heavy duty, high performance computing server type things.
So we don't think
hoping
consumer APUs will have like a single stack HBM option.
Not anytime soon.
Man,
how well now can you buy a product with HBM2 from AMD?
Not great, but maybe they use HBM1. Like I don't know. I just feel like, you know, integrated graphics has always suffered from memory bandwidth constraints of these platforms, and AMD didn't design like some wildly superior memory controller on Zen compared to anything previously or from Intel, right? So it's kind of
it's a big step up from Bulldozer and everything else before.
I mean, it's essentially matching the memory performance of Intel like Skylake, right? Like you're getting 25 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth on DDR4 running at 2666 or whatever, but that's, you know, on a Vega GPU, you're getting 500 gigabytes per second. So an order of magnitude times 2 of difference there. And so it's...
But we're also... We've got to take a look at what Infinity Fabric will bring to this, because it is going to be a lot more efficient than their previous applications.
Sure.
And so you've got a bigger GPU. You've got DDR4 running it. You know, it's going to be 2400, 2666. Maybe even we'll see 3200. And compare that to how Intel does graphics accesses to memory with what AMD has. And I think AMD may actually have a little bit of a leg up here.
I assume AMD's will still scale with memory frequency, right? So as that memory frequency increases, that we'll still have gaming improvements. But I mean, you're still going to be an order of magnitude lower than a discrete GPU would be, even a low-end discrete GPU would be. And I got to wonder at what point in this progression down integrated graphics do we finally realize that there has to be a crossover point where we can't depend on external memory anymore. We have to have onboard memory for something like this to work.
Remember when AMD did that with the 780? You could have 128 megs of off, kind of side bus memory that were built into motherboards.
Yeah. That didn't go very well.
Not particularly.
I mean, did it even get released? Was it like?
Oh yeah, it was out there. It just was not.
I don't remember. I remember that now conceptually that you say it, but like, I thought that was one of those things that I saw on motherboards at Computex that never actually showed up in the market or something.
No, actually, I believe I did test a board before I jumped on with you guys, and it was a small boost in performance, but it was only like a single 128 meg chip at a time when 1 gig was kind of the standard.
I'm excited about Raven Ridge because it has always been AMD's advantage over Intel in these spaces, right? So think. High-end mobile parts, 35, like high wattage mobile parts, 35 watts, or low-end consumer PCs where integrated graphics dominates. The current Ryzen 3 processors, even though they're as great as they are in comparison to Core i3, they still don't have integrated graphics, which is a significant hurdle, I think, for them to take over any kind of market share in like small business environments, right? Where they don't want to buy discrete GPUs, right. They don't want to support discrete GPUs. It's an added cost and added complication.
And it's another point of failure.
Right, exactly. So getting integrated graphics there and then being able to sell that as an advantage, like not only like, hey, now you can plug your damn monitor directly into the motherboard and it works, you don't have to buy anything else. We're also like 2x the perf or 3x the perf of what Intel offers you for graphics. Even if a lot of people who are buying these systems have no idea what that means or what that gets them, I think it's an easy upgrade path or an easy selling point for AMD.
Not to mention graphics drivers. AMD has a significant advantage.
But that really, Intel. That matters mostly for gaming, right? In terms of like continued support over time, and because if you're doing an application that you care about driver support, like say 3D rendering, you're probably going to use a discrete GPU anyway, maybe. I don't know. But either way, I think it gives AMD a huge advantage over Intel that Intel's going to have to figure out ways to compensate for as we get into the rest of the year. So I think that's... we've seen these leaks of like perf data just kind of starting to trickle out, but nothing about systems or availability yet. Yeah.
Q4. It's going to be holiday part.
You know what I love?
What do you love other than bourbon?
Gold.
Okay, Scrooge McDuck.
I was trying to go for Goldfinger.
Gold member.
I couldn't really do it. Anyway,
he's skillfully transitioning to the next story.
Yeah.
Yes. I if I was really skillful, I would have had like a picture of Gold member like up on the screen for me to go to.
No, you would have offered Allyn, do you want a pancake and a smoke? A smoke and a pancake?
I clearly did none of those things. So let's talk about instead a hard drive with the name Gold attached to it. How valuable is this hard drive?
I mean, not its weight in gold.
Is it gold coated? Are the platters made of gold?
No.
What the?
Is it expansive?
Isn't it? Well, probably. It's
12
just
terabytes.
Why do they call it gold when they expect it to oxidize?
What?
It's called
gold doesn't oxidize, but it's spinning rust.
Yeah.
So how are you going to change?
Is it like those like 24-bit CDs that were
WD
gold?
12 terabyte copper hard drive.
Yeah. It's just a lump of copper spinning around. Yeah. No. So gold is just Western Digital's color for their enterprise hard drives.
Is this a new color? Or has this always been around?
No, it used to be RE. Remember?
Not FE though. For iron.
No.
What's
How about PB?
AU
For lead.
See, that would have made sense.
AU is gold.
That's what I just said.
AG is silver.
But the RE drives used to just have like black labels on them, so it was sort of like it would just said Enterprise Edition or whatever, and it was sort of like a black, but better.
Now they're color coding everything.
Now they're giving them their own color.
Fair enough.
Right? Okay, so what they really are is just kind of beefed up versions of the of reds, basically.
Okay.
You know, faster spinning, right? They're going to be like 7,200 RPM version of a red. Same kind of Helio Seal stuff going on. So they're still using the tech that they have benefited from the HGST merger thingy, right? So they're basically helium filled 8 platter, 12 terabyte drives. So that's 1.5 terabytes a platter.
$520. What do they think I have?
But it's
Gold?
12 terabytes.
Wait, is this the first 12 terabyte drive?
There have been 12 terabyte
Seagate makes one,
shingled magnetic recording drives.
I think Seagate makes a non-shingled one.
They maybe recently. Yeah, I think more recently. I know on the roadmap they were talking about doing a 12 terabyte.
So are we upgrading our Plex server?
No, we just got the drives that we
haven't
got.
even built it yet.
How many do we need? 16?
Yeah, go for
If
it.
you can
That's
get
only
them to send us
8,000
16.
That's only $8,000 worth of hard drives.
Yeah, only.
Holy crap.
Alan,
that's
which affordable
$8,000.
external hard drive can I buy that has this in it?
I don't know of one yet.
Which external drive at Best Buy sells for $199 with this hard drive?
Yeah, the first freaking 12 terabyte drive out there, I'm buying and tearing open and just looking. I'm sure it'll be.
You'll
in there.
find 2 6s duct taped together.
Yeah.
You gotta say shuck it because I like that phrase.
Yeah, shuck it. Start back.
No perf metrics or anything really off this or anything else?
I mean, we don't, 7,200 RPM drive. It's not like it's going to be just suddenly groundbreaking increases in
Is it
sequential.
more platters or more dense platters?
It's both.
Okay, so we should see a performance difference
Yeah, you'll get a little bit of a bump up in sequentials.
because of the density.
Likely, because of the density increase.
Is it a higher fidelity on the reads because it's gold?
No, listen, Sebastian. You can't
Do I
audio.
need-
In the mastering process,
You can't
aka
audio file
writing
this.
data to the drive.
You can't.
Is there less jitter?
What if I got a gold-plated fiber optic cable from my
How do you gold plate a fiber
computers?
optic
Actually,
cable?
that's
Really?
sort of a thing. Yeah.
and I
Shielding around
plugged
the
it into
end?
the SPDIF. Okay, so not fiber optic, but let's just go coax. Let's just go coax.
SPDIF is
Can I
coax.
ask a very important
Toslink is
question?
optical.
Yeah, sure, Josh,
Maybe.
please save us.
Same thing.
Can you hammer this down to 1 atom thick?
You did not save us.
I mean,
not-
I guess
Okay, so Josh actually had a thing there, but that's not the technology in this drive. It's not using heat-assisted magnetic recording.
That's not what he was talking
I
about.
know.
anything else you want to say? About
No, I'm done. I'm done with this.
At 12 terabytes, Alan, is that like a tape drive? I mean, how do they fit all them bits in there?
It's called helical scan.
All right, so Western Digital has a $500 12 terabyte hard drive. When's our red come out?
The 10 terabyte reds aren't out yet.
Oh.
So you got a little bit of a wait. Probably because consumer demand is not necessarily up
I
there.
demand a 12 terabyte hard drive for $299.
Well,
10 cents a gig.
Add that
Wait,
to
no,
the-
That'll
That'll happen.
Back.
That'll happen when the 10 cents a gig thing
That's
happens.
$1,200 a drive. Take it back. All right. Jeremy posted this one up too. EPYC headed for the top of the charts. This is a friend of mine, guy I know, Patrick Kennedy, who runs a website called Serve the Home, published, and he does really, really great work on these server parts that we don't get in and we don't really have the knowledge to test yet. And we're kind of just still learning how some of this stuff works. He's been doing it forever. His setup at his office is amazing. We're getting him on we want to do an interview and talk about his EPYC testing versus Xeon testing. I think it'll be really interesting, Josh. We need to schedule time for this. But he did some testing of EPYC, and Jeremy has this quote here, like, while AMD is very competitive at the high end, its mainstream offerings are competing with defeatured Xeon Silver CPUs and absolutely obliterate what Intel is offering. You can see in this shot here, this gives you, by the way, this is the battle of the ginormous processors, because these are EPYCs, which are the same size as Threadripper parts.
Yeah.
And these are the Xeon Scalable cores.
Which are business card sized.
Holy moly.
They're a little narrower.
Jeez, oh Pete's.
Yeah.
Also, come on, Patrick, you gotta clean that one off.
Do you remember how big the Pentium Pros were?
Yeah, I've got one in the back.
They
Or
were
over
just
there.
as big.
Yeah, they were. That's true.
Yeah.
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 And people melted them down for the gold.
That's why they're so. The one I got, I took from a computer recycling center because they had them all laid out. Those are worth a pretty good chunk of money at the recycling center, and I bought it off a guy for like $20 or something like that, just because like I want to have one of each of these things. But anyway, Patrick,
so that was your cover story.
What? I wasn't melting it down for gold.
I know.
If I was doing that, I would sell it to him.
I just want one of each of these things.
Oh yeah. He also is one who gave me the discs, the platters out of the hard drives, like from what was the old size, like the hard drives were this big around.
The Winchester drives or whatever they were called.
So Patrick tested the EPYC 7351P. It's a 750 drive tested against Intel's Xeon Silver 4108, which is about 440 in various server applications, such as GROMAX, OpenSSL, and even a chess benchmark. Single socket EPYCs, even though they are offered in dual, I guess.
So was he just
Intel Xeon in both single and dual socket configurations. Only time the Xeon's performance came close to a single socket 7351P were when they were configured in dual socket systems. Even then, AMD's EPYC chip came out on top, often by a significant margin.
So what's this Xeon that's $440?
It's a defeatured Xeon Silver. So, oh man, they go Xeon Platinum,
Right. We
Gold,
went through those
Silver,
lines.
Bronze.
It just seems like I'm surprised there's a Xeon with
Can
a decent
Google
number
what
of
a
cores.
Xeon Silver 4108 is? My guess is it's like 10 cores or maybe 8 cores or something like that.
So he was
like
going for price parity.
Yeah.
As close
It
as
is
he
a
could get it.
1.8 gigahertz 8-core processor.
Okay. So super low clock,
Okay.
low core count for Xeon.
Yeah.
Turbo is 3.
So 1.8 to 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the
all right.
EPYC running at? Isn't that a 4 gigahertz?
Yeah, I don't know.
chip?
Google what the EPYC 7351P is as well.
Ah.
Yeah. So some of the interesting stuff about this. Got it yet?
Yeah, it's a 16-core, 32-thread, 2.4 to 2.9.
That doesn't seem fair.
So, but it's the price parity.
It's the price point is where you're looking at, right? And so it's one socket versus 2 socket. Raw performance is not the only advantage AMD offers. The feature test also far outstrips somewhat watered down Xeon Silver family. The single socket EPYC has 128 PCIe lanes, while dual socket Xeon Silver only offers 96, and the EPYC can handle up to 2 terabytes of DDR4 memory. And it's 8-channel memory controller, while the Intel can only do up to 1.5 terabytes in a dual socket configuration. So it's pretty interesting stuff. And I've been, since he published his first review of EPYC and comparing it to Xeon Scalable on the high end, this was kind of looking at the mid-range to low-cost server market. He's done really, really good stuff. And I want to have him on here to talk about what all that means, because none of us have like a lot of server testing experience. He's been doing it forever, and he's one of the best people, if not the best guy out there doing it. And in fact, I'm a little bit jealous because every time I go to one of these server events with him and I'm like, I'm learning about Xeon Scalable, he's like, here, come here, Ryan. And we come over to the corner and we talk about it. He's like, yeah, I've been testing this for 2 or 3 weeks and here's how it actually performs and all stuff. So he's getting it before I'm being briefed on it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, all right.
What do you mean? We have a rack now. We're totally equipped for testing server equipment.
With a Plex server in it, and we're ready to accept other servers.
We've
now.
got switches.
We got 10 gigabit networks.
I'm sorry, that is a dish drying rack, and the switches are very short.
They're the light switch next to the
can around.
Yeah.
So
whatever. If I can still write it in
You
an
are not
email and not be
prepared.
lying, it's okay for Intel and AMD to send me these servers based on this
We
technology.
have lots of racks.
All right.
Yes.
got lots
don't
of
wanna get into the racks.
IKEA lack tables.
Oh, IKEA LAC is our rack mount solution. True. Yeah. I see no
hail
problem
the
with
LAC
any
rack.
of this.
How many lacks does Sebastian have within current view?
He's in his basement.
No, he's not.
Oh, he's not?
No, I'm upstairs. I actually none. This is I think X. No, this is Calyx or Expedit. I don't remember.
There are no little tiny coffee tables near you.
I have an Expedit cube next to me.
See, I haven't been to IKEA in a long
also have
time.
an
I don't know
IKEA
the
bed.
new names. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe that's my weekend project. Go IKEA and relearn all the new names.
No. Well, you can use that IKEA
Every time I
AR
take-
kit app that they launched today.
Oh yeah.
It works pretty
Every
well.
time I go to IKEA and I take my daughter, it's like a 4-hour trip
Yeah.
because she wants to sit in every chair
Well, that's how I am
on
at
every
IKEA.
couch in every preset of room.
How is that different from anyone else?
Yeah, no, that's just IKEA.
That's fair.
I've never been to IKEA. Usually, I just stack boxes on top of each other, as you can tell.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Josh's
Throw a
head
little
would
calyx in
explode.
there.
Are those motorcycle helmets behind you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where have you been for the
I
last?
used to ride motorcycles, and then they got stolen from me in Laramie, Wyoming.
Those
out of
helmets
my
have been there
backyard.
for like 5
You
years.
should find the other guy in Laramie and ask for your motorcycles back. Sorry. All right.
I thought those were like immersive VR helmets.
Right. That's what I was thinking so too. Although I do believe now that we're in like this higher resolution thing, go back to Josh's shot real fast.
Oh God, do you?
I think they're dusty.
They are. I told you they've been
They
there for
are
5
dusty.
years.
Everything. My whole life is dusty.
I think that front helmet used to be. I think that front helmet used to be black.
No, it's green
Oh.
and blue with a gold visor. So
The gold visor still stands out then, so it's good.
Yeah, yeah.
You should
Sure
just
does.
wear it during the show.
Just paint it into be a Master Chief.
We'll have
helmet
our
at
own
that point.
Stig.
yeah.
Who could it be? You'll never know. The
Wait.
background stays the same.
I'm
I'll be
seeing
talking
it as
like
blue
this.
and white.
No. Stig doesn't talk. You just got to stare at the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll ask you yes or no questions. You
Yeah,
can
yeah,
just
yeah.
nod or shake. Before we get on to the next story, we're looking at Intel's Manufacturing Day. We get to talk to Josh again. We have 3 Patreon editions. Will You Review Modems just edited their pledge from $5 to $10 a month.
No, we will not
No.
review modems.
Only if it's a Win modem.
But still, you keep going up, Will You Review Modems, and we'll see what we can do. Randy Fox just pledged $5. Thank you very much, Randy.
Randy Fox, he gets around.
And, oh my God, Smitty Werben Jaeger Manjensen. Werben Jaeger.
That's a
Manjensen.
SpongeBob reference.
It's a what?
That's a SpongeBob reference.
SpongeBob.
Yes. That's a
Now we know how
SpongeBob
old he
reference.
is versus the rest of us. 'Cause he watched SpongeBob. Smitty pledged $1. Thank you very much for that. Thank you,
we
everybody.
reviewed Killer Nicks, and technically those modulate and demodulate, so I think we've checked the box.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
They're modems. Nicks are modems. I'm cheaping out, but you know.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's talk to Josh about the Intel Tech Day, where they had some interesting stuff. There's actually 2 interesting process technology announcements today. First one from Intel. What did they have to say about, I don't know, 10 nanometer, 14 nanometer, 10, 7, 5, 0 nanometer, whatever else they got? Yeah.
Okay, we've got multiple things that they covered here. The first is, I believe it's, correct me,
You're
is
wrong.
it Canyon Lake?
For
That
what?
is going to be on 14 nanometer plus.
The,
Or is it Canon?
so Coffee Lake is the one that's coming out later
Coffee
this
Lake.
year. Yeah. And Cannon
Yeah,
Lake is the
that's-
one that
that's-
will be 10, I think.
Cannon Lake, yeah. So Canyon Lake is not a product that I know of, but I was Coffee,
It's a secret.
Cannon. Oh. So anyway, 14 nanometer plus is one of their big things that they're moving to. Everybody hopes that process cadence is on a 2-year schedule, or what is it? Moore's law is every 24 months. Transistor density increase doubles. Well, we've kind of been beating that one around, and Intel keeps saying that Moore's law is alive and well, but in fact, it's really not. But we can pretend it is.
I mean,
But anyway.
hey, everybody's got to do something.
Yeah, you gotta. And so Coffee Lake's coming out here soon. That's their 14 nanometer plus product. Then they've got a more mobile centric that will be showing up, 14 nanometer plus. Now, they've been talking quite a bit about 10 nanometer. Then, they're making some pretty good points here. Their density is going to be greater than anybody else's if they get it out anytime soon. Because we've talked about this before, a lot of these, nanometer product nodes have no relation to any actual physical geometries on the chip. And so it's like TSMC had their 16 nanometer FinFET. Well, in reality, it was more of a 20 nanometer front end with FinFETs, and you didn't get the density improvements that we were hoping from from 28 nanometer to 16 nanometer.
Oh, sure.
It wasn't quite there. Samsung's 14 nanometer was bigger in geometries than Intel's 14 nanometer, even though Intel was out first with their product. And we're kind of looking at the same thing. 10 nanometer from TSMC, Samsung, they're going to be bigger in terms of geometry. Their density is not going to be as good. And supposedly the performance is not going to be as good as what Intel is offering. However, we have seen wafer shots and heard about products, but there's a lot of doubt right now about the health of Intel's 10 nanometer process. Now, eventually, they're going to get things fixed out because they've got money, they've got engineers, and they're going to work through the issues. But we're not going to see 10 nanometer this year. What they did show off is that they do have test wafers of 10 nanometer Cannon Lake stuff. And probably even more interesting.
Do you think that
if you scroll down?
Do you think that wafer's going to work when he's done with it?
The chips in the middle.
With his bare hands, he's going to go and rub some peanut butter on top of it and serve canopies from it. So no, it's not. Usually, when you see wafers like that actually have, you can actually see the patterns on it. They've already been stained, and so they're typically not useful. So anyway, they showed those off. Now, the most interesting thing is that they actually fabricated ARM A75 cores in a CPU that was synthesized by Intel, and they showed it off. And they claim that the performance is in excess of 3 gigahertz for these CPUs.
World exclusive Intel designs best ARM processor ever.
x86 is dead. Long live ARM.
Well, you know what? Intel did in fact abandon the mobile market, and so why not?
Yeah,
you got to keep these fabs used.
Correct.
You've got to get money in the fabs, keep them going 24 hours a day, so you can develop better processes and keep ahead of the competition so that your bread and butter CPUs, your desktop, and especially your server stuff can still be a generation or half a generation ahead of the competition when it comes to process technology.
It's essentially, okay, I give up. I can't make parts as good as you can make them. How about I make them for you, and you give me the money with which to crush my other enemies. That's how I do it.
So it's like HTC and Google.
It's a little bit like HTC and Google right now, yeah.
Sure. But, Intel has a hard enough time with 14 nanometer to keep their fabs running 24/7.
They have a lot.
They've got to shut them down and shut down the lines every once in a while because they can't keep flooding the market with chips. And it costs money to do that. But if they can, and they've been trying to balance this out with a lot of FPGAs, Xilinx, Z-Links, whatever, and a couple other partners that they've done that. But once you, and again, go down to 10 nanometer, how big have their CPUs really become? Sure, with the Xeon stuff, they're big, but the majority of i3, i5, i7s that will be coming out, they're still going to be extremely small. And the market, even though it's still healthy, it's not exactly growing at the rate it used to. I mean, in fact, it's just kind of staying pretty steady.
Yeah, that's true.
And so as you lower the manufacturing process, the more dies you get out per wafer. And say you've got 4 fabs that are using this, and you go down a node, and your market share stays the same, and the consumers are only buying the same. The next thing you know, you've got one of the 4 fabs being extremely underutilized, and that's billions and billions of dollars. That's just kind of going to waste. So it makes sense for them to just kind of abandon the design of the mobile market, because ARM really is a better architecture for the sub 1 watt parts that are in cell phones. Intel just couldn't get x86 down there effectively enough. And so it makes sense for them to say, hey, you know what? Producing dies for you at a cost that I can still break even with this fab is still better than me closing that fab down and losing billions. And this is in a market that I'm no longer participating in. So it's kind of a win for you, and it's a win for me, because all these billions I invested in this fab will not go to waste.
Agreed.
It took Intel a while to figure this one out. A long while.
I'm taking my ball and going home. Okay, you can borrow it for $5 an hour. That's what it went from and then to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that. I do appreciate that. We'll talk with Josh a little bit more when we talk about Global Foundries here at the end of the story. We do have 2 more Patreon notifications to talk about. First one comes in an edited pledge from $10 to $11 from HSA Foundation AMD Checkmate. I don't quite follow.
I know what those words mean individually.
It's been a long time since we heard from the HSA Foundation, really.
Yeah.
So if that Patreon contributor would like to make another suggestion, they just need to increase that Patreon amount. And then we have a change from $3 to $4 from Darth Malventano, Dark Lord of the Bits.
That needs to be a t-shirt.
Needs to be on a t-shirt. Is the full name of this thing.
Anthony, get on that.
Darth Malventano, Darth Lord of the Bits.
What's our Patreon contributor count now?
Our individual count?
Yeah, we were at like
numerics?
414 at the beginning of the podcast.
You could just be doing
we've had a lot of increases. We're 414, now we're 420.
Be doing the force thing, and the bits will just
Oh no, that means we lose.
Hashtag 420.
Yeah.
You won't be associated with those
I'm
drug
35
people.
years old. I don't know what any of this means anymore. Let's talk instead about some new NUCs that are coming out.
Yes, let's do that.
As Jeremy talks about it, the knuckle up, baby. We're off to Hades Canyon. What the
get it.
does that mean?
Well, it's a pun because they're nooks and then like knuckle up. You know,
I get it.
Knuckle up.
So Sebastian, tell me about this.
Q2 2018,
the future,
as CNX Soft is reporting, that's the source for this, are some new NUCs that are actually really interesting. If you look into this story, they are very high wattage CPUs.
Yeah,
we're talking
like
66 watt and 100 watt.
100 watt NUC.
Yeah, some unknown i7.
That's
the
also,
i7 is listed as XXXXK, so it's probably going to be 8th or 9th generation.
It's a hairdryer.
And it supports up to 6 displays, 2x Thunderbolt 3s, but it has dedicated graphics. The dedicated graphics chip is not listed, but these are going to be like a VR-ready box with a dedicated GPU.
In a NUC?
One is, yeah. So there's going to be like a Hades Lake VR and then a non-VR SKU.
I will say I like the name.
CPU.
Fan of the name.
It's better than Bean Canyon, which is a little lower.
They do say in these slides that it's X generation core, but they call it KBLH, Kaby Lake H.
It's for high power.
Well, no, Kaby Lake H is a thing. Like it's
oh.
It's like the CPU in the notebook we reviewed.
7700 HQ. Yeah, like it's the full quad core hyper threaded part in the laptop that can
crap, not 100 watts.
What I mean, DX, the discrete graphics is what's the interesting part there. I mean, that's how you get to 100 watts.
I mean, if you think about all of the like the XPS 15, which is a 7700 HQ and has a GTX 1050 in it.
Yeah,
there's no reason you can't do a NUC doing that.
I mean, I guess
there's no reason you can't make a NUC that does that.
I mean,
we've definitely seen mini PCs with discrete GPUs from companies like Zotac and others in the past. So I'm just curious to see what this is going to look like. Obviously, the Skull Trail, is that what it was?
Skull Canyon.
Skull Canyon.
Yeah.
NUC was
that was cool.
An unusual form factor for a NUC.
Yes, it was wider, flatter.
I imagine it would be that form factor.
Yeah, if not bigger.
Why? I think bigger with the 100 watt TDP to
especially if you don't want to have some wing fan involved in the situation, right?
Yeah.
Like, because you're not doing that passively in any capacity, right? Or
No.
They also have like Bean Canyon, which I think is
I saw that Bean Canyon coming in
Baby
in
Canyon.
2018. That's going to be like your standard 28 watt part. This is going to be a more conventional, like the smaller NUC. Still going to have triple display support, Thunderbolt 3, the latest connectivity, like 2x2, AC wireless.
But you'll be able to get the 4-core stuff in there. At that
Yeah,
point.
4-core 8-thread at the top.
So we'll have to talk to my buddy Allyn over there and ask about who comes up with the names Baby Canyon, Bean Canyon.
So
I understand for them, they talk about it every day, so it makes sense. It just rolls off the tongue. For me, I'm trying to keep track of all this stuff and 10 other companies' roadmaps, and I have to deal with Bean Canyon, Baby Canyon, Rock Canyon. What do they got down
Carrot
there?
Canyon.
June Canyon. Arches
Garbanzo
Canyon.
Bean Canyon.
Pinnacle Canyon.
What the heck?
There's a lot of canyons involved here.
Do we need to start printing out cheat sheets?
nah.
If Allyn would send me a cheat sheet that I could print out and tape to my monitor,
Yeah,
I
we
would
need like a
absolutely
wall,
do
like a
that.
poster.
Yeah,
That's probably what it is.
That's true.
What's sad is that it's actually become easier just to look at that convoluted name of the NUC to figure out what it is. Like, oh, NUC 8i7BEH. Okay, of course. That's Bean Canyon 8th Gen i7. All right, good.
The top, the 100 watt guy there has 2 Thunderbolts. What else? Okay, yeah. It does mention. It doesn't mention any 2.5 SATA drives.
Probably can't fit them.
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, clearly they're not tied to the standard NUC chassis because the Skull Canyon was a little bit was not a little bit. It was significantly different than that.
Yeah.
Right, it just had the two M.2 slots. There was no 2.5 inch. It was a slimline design.
Dual gigabit networking, 802.11ac 2x2, and Bluetooth 4.2 on those top machines.
Yeah, that's just a computer at that point.
Yeah, 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, 6 display output.
Yes, you're right. This is a computer.
Wait, no, I thought what?
2 HDMI, 2 mini display port, plus 2 Thunderbolt USB-C. Oh, it says Thunderbolt 3 or USB-C. I assume that's the same thing. Interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there, for sure.
I want to know what that DGFX is.
Yeah, I mean,
Vega 64.
no. I mean, it's going to be like GTX 1050, right? Like, it's going to be a GTX 1050.
No, it's going to be Intel's own in-house GPU.
No.
Which I've forgotten the name of.
Knights something? Knights derivative?
Well, they have plenty of in-house GPUs.
What was
They're
that
just crappy and built into
dedicated
graphics.
GPU concept they had?
Larrabee?
Larrabee, that's right. This is the return of Larrabee. You heard it here first.
You heard it here first, but don't tie my name to it.
Larrabee.
They'll have a discrete GPU. It would just be another one of their CPUs with the CPU disabled, with the only using the GPU.
Yeah.
No, Allyn, is a blank die on the board.
Yeah,
okay.
blank.
we didn't even talk about that.
We're not
Oh,
going to get fooled by that
We
again.
didn't talk about that. We'll talk about that in the post show and whatever the hell that is. NVIDIA Ansel and ShadowPlay support. So NVIDIA's been doing a lot of these iterative upgrades to things. So Ansel is their, how do you describe this? It's like
Screenshot utility.
it's like a screenshot utility, but it's way more
It's like a 3D
advanced than
screenshot
that,
utility.
right? Like
Yeah.
you basically get to pause the game in real time and then move around the
The
camera.
photo viewer mode.
It's what?
Their photo mode.
It is. It's really cool when you see it actually work. But it's the ability to like pause. It pauses the game even if you're like in a single player environment that would not normally support that. And you can move the camera around and apply effects and take these high resolution
and then the
screenshots.
screenshot is a higher resolution and
Well, it could be native to what you're looking at, or you
Right.
could do like super resolution where it's like it goes to 4K per screenshot and then it ties them all.
and even in
stitches them all
even in
together.
higher settings than what you would normally play the game in too.
Oh yeah,
like in addition to the resolution
like
thing, like
8K,
the
12K, whatever. Yeah, the incredible.
You know
cool
what? You know
stuff.
what strikes me as most funny about Ansel, and this is going a little bit back in time. Remember during the GeForce FX 3D Mark thing, when 3D Mark could actually stop, and then you could rotate the camera around,
I do,
and you
remember
could
that.
see
Yeah,
what
that was like 3D
NVIDIA
Mark
was not
11.
doing. What's that?
It's like 3D Mark 06.
It was like 06 or something. But yeah, that's where they found out that they were doing some interesting things with rendering
because you go behind an object and it wasn't there.
Correct.
Oh, like
and they
didn't even
turned
exist.
around and there was like a muddle of pixels in this world space that were not discarded as they were supposed to have been, and all kinds of other fun things. So it's kind of funny to think that Ansel does that same thing. But
and so Ansel does require like game developer intervention, right? Like they have to add support into it. NVIDIA provides the API. They've added Ansel support to Witcher 3, Hellblade, Pro Evolution Soccer. What else we got? They're up to 25 titles.
Oh,
now,
you can capture HDR now with Ansel.
Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor. They're giving away 50,000 of those codes. Okay. Well, that's it. That's the old game, right?
Why the hell did I buy one of those?
Yeah,
for $5.
The other thing they added was so ShadowPlay highlights. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but it's ShadowPlay highlights. So ShadowPlay is this constant recording of stuff in the background while you're gaming, right? So if something cool happens and you have like a pre-record of 30 seconds, it's always keeping the most recent 30 seconds recorded.
Yeah.
And if you hit a button, you say record the last 30 seconds. That was a cool moment that happened. You can do that. If you support something called ShadowPlay highlights, which I think, what was that? The first game that did it, or one of the most recent games that did
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds?
No, but that one's the one we're talking about. But Cliffy B's game or whatever. I don't know what it's called.
Lawbreakers is the one we're talking about.
No. I thought we were talking about PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
Both of those are mentioned in this article.
Oh, okay. But so the ability then is that the game has the API integrated into it. It knows when something cool has happened because it's the game.
Yeah.
Right. And it automatically saves that for you, even if you didn't previously have ShadowPlay enabled.
So it saves the scene.
It saves like the event that occurred.
Yeah.
A couple seconds, the seconds building up to it, the seconds after it.
So then you can go back into that after
you
with
can
the
go
camera.
back in, decide if you want to save it, whatever you want to do.
That's cool.
It's pretty cool. They've added it into a PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which obviously is still the biggest game in PC gaming. What did it just recently eclipse?
It was most concurrent users on Steam, wasn't it?
Yeah, beating like Dota 2.
Yeah. So it crossed, not forever, but for like a moment in time, it had more live players than Dota 2. Right?
It's crazy.
And this is like an incredibly small development team. I love reading the stories about this development team and how they just created this thing that they wanted to do, and now they're multimillionaires, right? How many? What are they up to? Was it 4 million copies sold?
Oh, no, I think it's 10.
Up to 10 million copies sold, and it's $20, right?
30.
Wow.
There you go. So $300 million of revenue, and minus whatever Steam's cut is, minus whatever you
30%.
Is it 30? That's Apple. Is it Steam 30?
I imagine they do.
I think Steam's like 30. Yeah, I think so.
Seems high, but whatever. Hey, if I had $300 million, you could take 30%, but then the government comes and takes 50%.
Yeah.
Damn Steam and the government. So anyway, NVIDIA integrated ShadowPlay highlights, worked with the developer to get that into PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and Lawbreakers as well. So it's just kind of cool that kind of support is integrated in there. Ansel support added into some recent games as well. And apparently NVIDIA is giving away 50,000 Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor game codes, which is an older game now, right?
Yeah, it's like 2014.
It's not the new one. I'll make sure we clarify that. It's not the new game. It's Shadow of War is the new one that's coming out. But Shadow of Mordor. So if you haven't played that yet, it's a good game. It won many Game of the Year awards. So if you can get one of the 50,000 free ones from NVIDIA, do that as well. In our last story of the week, we come back to Josh to talk about Global Foundries and process tech. So they had an event called GTC, which ironically enough, NVIDIA holds an event called GTC. They had several cool announcements, one of which was 12 nanometer FinFET tech that we were talking about in Slack earlier. It's kind of like 14 nanometer plus, right?
Yeah, they announced a couple of new products. Now we know that they have products like 28 nanometer, 28 FDX, which is a fully depleted 28 nanometer. They have a new one called 22 FDX, which they are kind of excited about, and it not only does with good work with low power ASICs, like if you want Internet of Things where the leakage is incredibly low on this. It's still a planar design as compared to FinFET, but it has a lot of FinFET type performance enhancements. And with FD-SOI, it's a little bit better, especially in leakage. It also has RF functionality. RF is becoming incredibly important now, especially with 5G and 6 gigabit per second throughput. That is all RF technology. That's that stuff in modems that converts this RF signal to bits that your CPU and SoC can use. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
Nope,
you're right. I think so. Okay. But anyway, they talked about a couple of new things. The big one is the 12LP process. This looks like it is an optimization of their current 14 nanometer, which is a licensed Samsung product. They've done work on it. I don't know what kind of licensing they continue to do with Samsung to be able to develop a product off of theirs, but they are offering it. And it's, I think, 15% denser than current 14 nanometer and 16 nanometer products, which is kind of an iffy thing to say because 16, well, we talked about this before. Marketing terms, size, whatever. But it's also about 10% increase in performance from their previous 14 nanometer part. So in Zen, if you had something that ran at 4 gigahertz, you would think, oh, well, that would mean, an extra 10% performance is going to be 4.4. Well, it doesn't quite work that way. You're going to get a smaller chip, and you're probably going to be able to see top-end performance hitting 4.2 gigahertz or so in the thermal constraints that they're looking at, and with yields and bins being kind of optimal. Now, because this is an enhancement of 14 nanometers, it's about ready to go. They're doing Q1 2018 risk production, which, from my understanding, risk production is when the guys who order these wafers, they don't have a lot of the kind of safety measures that just doing a regular process node. So a lot of times they'll do agreements that says, hey, I'll pay for per good die from this wafer. So that makes the foundry guys make sure that they get good yields, good bins, as compared to say, we're going to buy this wafer and we're going to throw that through. And even if you have 2 good dies out of that entire wafer, you're going to pay the same amount per wafer. And so risk production is you pay pretty much per wafer. And not only that, but during production, they're going to be also tuning and enhancing the process as it goes. So you could get some interesting variations of yield and bins at the end of each week when a new batch of wafers kind of comes out. So there's a lot of risk involved, hence the name. But one of the big announcements was that AMD was going to be doing their next refresh of Zen and Vega on this 12 nanometer process. So risk production first half, and so we'd expect to see products from AMD maybe in midsummer. So we're talking June, July, well, probably July, August before we see these refreshes. So that's good news for AMD. And it's another option for manufacturers to take something that's not 14 nanometer, give you a little bit more density, a little bit more performance, something that probably is going to be fairly mature off the bat just because it is developed from a previous processor technology. They're still planning on their 7 nanometer, which AMD, I know, is designing Zen 2 around, but we don't have a real good timeline for that. I would say that probably that is more of a 2019 product than anything. I know that Global Foundries wanted to skip 10 nanometer, go directly to 7 nanometer. But again, we're dealing with marketing terms rather than reality, because other guys have announced 7 nanometer stuff, and that's going to be EUV based. But Global Foundries 7 nanometer is definitely not EUV. So it's going to be interesting over the next year and a half to see where process technology goes. Again, they're really pushing RF because that's an area where they feel with the FD-SOI and just their expertise at SOI in general. Because if you remember, all of AMD's stuff from, gosh, I can't remember what, 140 nanometer, 150 no, is it 90 nanometer and below? Was all SOI, PD-SOI? These details, they escape me. And so, out of all the manufacturers and foundries in the world, they probably have the best expertise of any kind of SOI production. Because they've been doing it so long. AMD took big risks to do SOI, and it paid off for quite a while for the company. And so it's going to be fun to see. Maybe Global Foundries will finally hit the promise that they've been giving for many, many years since it spun off from AMD as their manufacturing arm.
They have struggled to seemingly struggled to stay at the peak of fabrication technology, right? So it would be nice for that to shift for them. I guess we'll jump into our hardware software picks of the week. I've got mine ready. It's the new illumination here at the set at PC Perspective. Well, part of it, I guess.
Part of it.
Sort of.
Philips Hue. So these were just some. They're basically just lights that we can control the color temperature on.
Mm-hmm.
Right, fairly easily through an iPad or whatever, anything you can install the Philips app on. Actually, I think we're using a third-party app to do it. Is it just because it's easier to do?
Yeah. The Hue app doesn't exactly give you, as long as I could find, direct input a color for the color temperature. It's more like different moods.
Yeah.
But it's
like
in their
presets.
API, so third-party apps can take advantage of it.
Got it. So this I linked here just to the starter kit, which is the Hue controller, which you attach to your network. Which is what's standard is this? Is this a Zigbee?
Yes.
Okay, so it's part of the Zigbee group. But then that's what allows you. It creates kind of the Wi-Fi communication that it connects to the other devices with. So we've got 6 bulbs in some of these overhead lights here that we're controlling. Did we adjust the color temperature today at all, or did we leave it at where it was at?
We did. Yeah, it's the 38.
Okay, 3800. So it's $150, and you get 4 light bulbs and a controller. And
so those are the color light bulbs in the one.
Oh, these are the RGB ones.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I believe.
I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, it looks like it is. Yes. Yeah, you're right, because I only paid $99 for the four bulbs plus controller. This is 3 bulbs, 3 RGB bulbs plus controller. So there's a bunch of different combinations.
But they do make cheaper ones that you can only adjust the temperature of, as opposed to.
And
Which is
they make
what we
ones
have.
they make ones that you can even adjust the color temperature of.
That are just on or off and dimming capability.
You pick
Those are-
cool white or
you choose your color
you
temperature.
pick cool or soft.
They're incredibly expensive, and I had always been interested in them. But never bought them at the house or anything like that. But for here, it made sense for us being able to control color temperature. We were trying to change some of our lighting setup.
I have none of the color temperature ones, but we probably have 20 bulbs in our apartment home. Almost every bulb is a Zigbee bulb. We usually use Cree makes
Oh, do they?
like a less than $20 bulb for just standard white. That's what we
Now
have a
you
lot
can
of.
control it with your Amazon Echo.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what we do.
Which is what we do here.
Don't
Hold
necessarily-
on. Come back to us. Let me try this.
But you're going to set off
Alexa, turn off the studio.
And now we're dark.
It did. I mean, I guess
can
it did
tell a
change a
little.
little bit. Alexa, turn on the studio.
You can see the glare on the TV.
yeah, down here.
Did that even really do anything? I was looking at it.
It did. Yeah.
I mean, I
Well,
guess
we got the extra fill lights.
Your
in there,
face
too.
looks less red, Alan, with the full studio lights.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
IKEA also
Have you been
has
drinking alcohol, Alan?
Ryan has. I've been smelling it
kinda
all
fl-
podcast.
You're
Even
flushing
the smell
now.
gets him.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, that's because it's like, I don't know. When it's dry, my face gets unhappy.
Do you have laser treatment for that?
Laser surgery?
He needs them. Let's talk to Josh. What is your pick here? What do you got?
So something a little odd, but something that has saved my life. I bought one of these things kind of from this group about 20 years ago. And it's just a little pancake pump.
What?
What?
Little portable air compressor. They're inexpensive.
I was hoping for actual
plug into the DC out
air
in your
compressor
car.
pump, right?
And boy, that saved me 4 times this year. I've had really bad luck with punctures. Nice to have them.
Hey, look, they plug it into Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Volkswagens don't have any mechanical dropouts or anything that
And for
require
only
fixing.
55 bucks, that's a lot of peace of mind. It's a lot of peace of mind that'll last quite a few years.
Yeah.
The chat has it covered. A Swedish tire pump. They picked up on what I was going for there.
All right, that's not too bad. All right, good job. Hey, Josh, good job.
Hey, thanks.
Sebastian, what do you got?
That's mine.
Oh, that's right. Wait. Why did we're in a different order.
Allyn.
Sebastian, what do you got?
Okay, so
Reach.
Blade Runner finally came out on UHD Blu-ray. You can
Why?
see this. Why not?
What year was it recorded?
It's on film.
Okay,
Doesn't
it was
matter.
Shot on film, 35 millimeter, and the effect shot were done at 65.
Did they remaster it?
Restored it back in like 2006, 2007. Sorry, I can hear myself. It's very distracting. They scanned it in at 4K. In fact, they scanned the effect shots in at 8K. So they already had the 4K intermediate cut. And when it was released on Blu-ray, obviously it was just at 1080p, and it was actually a low quality Blu-ray. It was only a BD25 that Warner Brothers released it on. So what you're getting with this is what averages out when I was watching it to be like 60 to 70 megabit per second, very high quality transfer, all in 4K, true 4K. Looks phenomenal. It's HDR10 encoded, and the HDR effects. This movie is extremely well known for the quality of the cinematography and the lighting. There are shots where a light is coming up over somebody's shoulder or something, and it looks like I was watching it in the dark, and it looked like there was like a light shining out of my TV. HDR was well implemented with this. So anyway, to get this movie, which I was going to make my pick, and it's sold out everywhere. It's back ordered again.
Don't worry, you can get it from $75 with third-party sellers on Amazon.
Yeah. I had pre-ordered mine, and it went out of stock immediately. It came back into stock, and as of today, it's out everywhere again. I just checked, like DVD Planet and stuff is all back ordered. But to watch this, I didn't have a UHD Blu-ray player. For just over $200 on Amazon, you can buy the Sony UBP X800, which is actually a really cool, very complete disc player and multi-format player. It plays every kind of disc you can think of, including like audio formats like DVD audio and SACDs and all the like movie formats. It has USB to support every other conceivable type of video file and audio file. It even does, not only does it do all the 24-bit audio formats, it does double rate DSD. So literally everything is covered. And then it had a couple of nice convenience features. One, it has dual HDMI out. So if you're like me and your receiver has 4K video pass through but does not support HDR, like it doesn't have the latest version of the, what is it, the HEDC 2.2 or
HGCP 2.2.
HGCP 2.2. Yeah, I don't have a compliant receiver, but it'll do all the high-res, audio formats, including Atmos. So you can send separately an HDMI to your receiver for audio and then one up to your TV for HDR 4K. And then it also has built-in Bluetooth, so you can stream it quietly to your own Bluetooth headphones. It supports Sony's LDAC for high rate if you have one of the more expensive Sony wireless headsets. So just nice stuff. Cheap for a 4K Blu-ray player.
Ghostbusters.
$10.
Comes with Angry Birds.
And through September 30, you can pick out 2 free movies, including the Angry Birds movie.
Okay, good. You don't have to pick Angry Birds. Okay, all right, that's
Choose
better.
from over 15 titles.
All right.
You didn't like the
I
Angry Birds
chose
movie?
Magnificent Seven and something. I don't remember what. And the good thing is I didn't pay anything for them.
That's good. Yeah.
The way I got my 4K Blu-ray player is I found it literally in the Target clearance section. It's this ugly Philips thing that's like a
You got the
square.
Philips one?
It's an awful looking piece of hardware. It's square and has a tray, and it was $75, and it decodes the Blu-rays. That's all I need.
There you go.
I would never
will
recommend
say-
someone buy it though.
Blu-rays on this player, the upscaler, is excellent. You would not know this was like a cheaper 4K Blu-ray player. It handles. I've never seen Blu-rays look as good on my current TV as with this Blu-ray player.
That's good. I'm still sticking with my Xbox One S for now, and my non-HDR TV.
Yeah, I guess I have a 1X pre-ordered. If I keep that, then I can ditch the Philips one.
It's true. It's true. You can do that. All right, now, Alan, I'll go to you. What do you got? It's a big surprise.
No, well, it's not a big surprise.
Is it a gold drive?
No. So I'm used to when I do wear a watch on occasion, which
Has been
usually,
almost never.
almost never. But I have a like a ceramic watch, like a full ceramic watch. Yeah. Anyway.
All right, thumbnail.
So I'm used to so I'm used to the band being kind of like, you know, having some meat to it, like, you know, and that sort of thing. So, and I ordered an Apple Watch, and I was like, well, I wonder if you can get a ceramic band for one of those.
Yep.
And there's the ceramic, like the entire, the whole body of the Apple Watch they make, and what is it, the Edition or whatever, that's like a ceramic watch.
Yeah.
Heck no, I'm not spending that much money on that. That's ridiculous. But I do think it would look cool with the ceramic band anyway, if you get the other, you know, the cheaper watch. Right?
Sure.
So I found, you know, just looking around, like $20, Amazon, ceramic watch band for an Apple Watch. Pretty cool. All the links are ceramic.
Stainless steel and ceramics replacement. So what is it? Is it actually ceramic or is it stainless steel?
It's ceramic. Well, it's the clasp is stainless steel. The part that you know,
Sure.
butterflies, right?
Yep. This part here.
Yeah, you know, and then and it actually comes with, and I didn't notice this because it's not really clear in the listing, but in that picture, or actually in the fourth picture in the upper right, there's this little shell looking thing. Like that's like a Spigen style, like plastic, like bumper case for the watch. So if you're worried about like messing up the outside of the watch, like you just kind of stick the watch in that before you put
Why
the
don't
band
you
on.
just wrap yourself
In cellophane?
in cellophane before you come out of the house? $20 is pretty cheap.
It's pretty cheap
Don't
for a
get me
watch
wrong.
band, you know.
Yeah.
And then they make like metal ones. I don't know if they're stainless, but they make probably not stainless, but they make metal ones for like $12. It's like in that same listing. Like make a rose gold one for like $13.
Yeah. We'll see how long this lasts.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'll try it.
I mean, for $20, like buy
Give it a
3,
shot.
whatever.
Yeah.
$20
for
is
sure.
almost a whatever thing
Yeah.
for like, you know.
Compared to their prices.
It's what's like the Apple, you know, stainless steel Link watch band? Is it like
that's like the most expensive
it's like
one.
$600 or something like that? $20, $600. I think I'll try the $20 one.
Yeah.
I mean, you could only buy, let's see, 30 of them for the same price.
I mean,
So,
it's a watch band. Like,
Yeah.
you
Store them
know,
in the freezer.
it's either gonna work, it's either gonna be a watch band, or it's not.
I understand. It's either going to hold the watch together.
It's going to be a
Or it's not.
C-ring, if you know what I mean.
I mean, you'll kind of know. You should know almost immediately whether it works or not as a watch band. So you know,
Words of wisdom
yeah.
from Alvin Multivitamin.
Multivitamin.
All right, that's going to be it, everybody, for this week's episode of the PCPer podcast. Thank you guys for joining us. PCPer.com/podcast is the URL you can go to find all of our video file links, show notes, subscription links, video files, Patreon link, all that type of stuff. You can find it there. So visit us at PCPer.com/podcast. We'll be back next week with another episode of this show you just watched. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Sebastian Peak.
And I'm Allyn Malventano.
Bye.
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 I'll miss you.